Character Randomizer January 2024. Seedie. Uzulha stood very still as the whitecoats looked around the office. The two tall beings had not been there long when they began throwing out the carefully cultivated cups, mugs, saucers, and petri dishes of tiny plants that Uzulha had spread throughout his friend's workspace. Tom, as Uzulha's only whitecoat friend called himself, had not been to this room for many, many days, and Uzulha had been forced to hop from container to container seeking liquid. As he cowered in the corner, rubbing his dry brown fur and wondering what they meant to do, he eavesdropped. "Man, Dr. Clark really lost it. Look at this place. It's Chia Pet's gone wild." The shorter, rounder one looked around in dismay, shaking her head. I don't know what he was thinking. Honestly, who would think that you should combine a cephalopod and chia seeds? It's insane. Really, he deserved to be locked up. And all his crazy claims that his plants could walk and move and talk? Utterly befounding. As the taller one swiped Claire's shelf into a white plastic bag, he agreed, nodding his head. Yeah, they don't know what to do with him. But we gotta clean out this office so that new botanist from Japan can take over. Who knows, maybe they'll figure out this crop blight thing. Uzulha didn't understand, and it really didn't care. It just was horrified to see all of the seedlings being swept into bag after bag. Crouching, it crept into the vent it had carefully unscrewed and hid itself from the whitecoats, waiting until darkness came. It followed the whitecoats walking through the halls, looking down on them from the vents above, just to see where the other seedlings went. Uzulha didn't want to lose them. They were his family, and Tom had told Uzulha, always take care of family. But seeing all of Tom's hard work thrown into white bags and then shuffled out the door and into the large green recycle bin behind the building made Uzulha angry. How could they do this to Tom? Tom was a good friend. Tom was a hard worker. Tom always made sure Uzulha had the best water and the best liquid food. It wasn't fair. And Uzulha understood this. Knowing only that he needed to save Tom's work, Uzulha thought and thought and thought, rubbing the dried brown tips of his hair away as he contemplated how to save the seedlings that had been cast out of Tom's office. As the sun set and the workers left for the day, he watched the whitecoats angrily, still simmering about the loss of his friend and his friend's space. Then he remembered something Tom had once told him. Carefully moving to the recycle bins, Uzulha climbed into the one containing the seedlings. He dug through bag after bag until he found it, a picture of a place, a red building in the background, black and white creatures in a green field, tall trees, and water. Uzulha remembered that Tom said if they ever got separated, Uzulha was to go there. The address was written on the back of the photograph. So Uzulha studied it. Could he find a way to get the seedlings to Tom's home? And would the plastic card Tom had given him and explained how to use as currency work to facilitate Uzulha's escape with the seedlings? The next morning, 3 large boxes with printed prepaid labels taped neatly to the top waited in the outgoing mailroom. This side up, biological plants contained within, do not shake, do not drop, do not refrigerate. Uzulha held his breath as the bored mailroom clerk threw them into a truck with the outgoing mail. 2 days later, he arrived at his destination. The boxes were left on a porch in the middle of nowhere. The automated delivery drone did not register that the house was unoccupied or the farm dilapidated. It only knew this was the address, this is where the boxes went. Peeking out the hole he had cut in the side, Uzulha was excited to escape. He freed himself and began studying his new surroundings. The house and the barn did not look like they did in the picture. The fields were overgrown and unkempt. And where were the white and black beasts that lived in the fields? Uzulha did not know. But he did not care. He was free of the confines of the laboratory and all of the seedlings with him. One by one he dragged the boxes to the greenhouse beside the barn and began placing them on a table, spreading them out so they could enjoy the sunshine and the clean air and the water. Tom was gone, and the whitecoats had tried to destroy his work, but Uzulha had saved them, and he was quite proud of himself for solving the problem. The money Tom had left Uzulha on the plastic card had been enough to acquire grow lights, feeding solution, and everything Uzulha needed to continue Tom's research into sentient chia pets. As he worked to continue Tom's research, Uzulha became lonely, hoping Tom would come one day. Every day he walked in the fields. Every day he looked for the black and white beast from the picture. Further and further he roamed, until one day he came across a tall brown animal with thin legs and sticks protruding from its head. "Hello," Uzulha said. "My name is Uzulha. I am a sentient plant. I am pleased to make your acquaintance, creature of the forest." The beast looked down at him, sniffed him, and then, to Uzulha's horror, it pawed at him with a hoof, before holding him down and eating him. No matter how he struggled, Uzulha could not free himself, for the yellow flowers on his head had bloomed and become so fragrant, and the dried brown stubble of his fur had become greener living on the farm. The deer ate and ate and ate until nothing was left. And then it wandered through the forest, leaving little droplings as deer do, without a concern or care for Uzulha or the seedlings left behind. Back at the laboratory, there was quite a stir over the discovery of Tom's research. "What do you mean he actually did it? I mean he actually did it? He's not crazy?" So out there, somewhere, in the biologic recycling bin, we have sentient plants literally just wandering around. What are we going to tell the public? What are we going to tell our investors? What are we going to tell Tom and his doctors who think that he's crazy? The man in the white coat listened as the director scowled on the screen of the video platform. "We don't tell anyone anything. Tom was insane. He's going to stay in that place until he dies. No one is going to know that he used sentient plants to solve the blight problem. Find another way. Use his research. No more walking chia pets." The next year, the famine had spread and nearly half the world's population had died. But in the forest around the farm, a new plant began to grow. Seedlings sprouted up in the sun and the rain, thriving despite the blight that was destroying everything else. little yellow flowers on heads. At first they sort of look like garden gnomes, and then more like little monkeys, or perhaps chia pets. Each one gradually woke, each one gradually began to move around, and soon all the forest was covered with these moving, sentient plants. Uzulha never knew that his children and the seedlings he became after he was eaten would save most of the animal life on the planet, humans notwithstanding. The end. Thank you for listening, and have a very lovely day.